You've looked at it. Maybe last night. Maybe when you were a child, peeking out of a window. The moon. But here's the question. Did you really see it? Or did you just glance and move on? Because once upon a time, before screens, before electricity, before skyscrapers dulled the night sky, the moon wasn't background decoration. It was destiny. It was the calendar, the clock, the heartbeat of ritual and myth. And without it, you wouldn't be here. Think about this. You felt lonely before. Maybe sitting in a dark room, maybe walking home late at night. That ache in your chest, that sense of smallness, is not new. Our ancestors felt it too, but they didn't look down. They looked up, and there it was, the moon hanging above them, silent but certain. The moon didn't just light their path, it lit their imagination. Now, here's the mystery I want you to hold in your mind. Why did humans, fragile, vulnerable, wandering the savannas and forests, survive while so many other creatures vanished? Some will say fire, others will say tools. But hidden in the story is something less obvious. A rhythm, a cycle, a beacon in the dark. The moon. And tonight, we're going to chase that shadow. Picture this. 75,000 years ago, East Africa. A group of early humans sit around a fire. They've eaten what little they could scavenge that day. Above them, the savanna stretches into darkness, filled with unseen predators. And then, one child notices. The moon has vanished. The familiar glowing disk has been swallowed, leaving only stars. An eclipse. Can you imagine the terror? Firelight flickers, shadows lengthen, and the one constant in the sky, gone. For us, an eclipse is wonder. For them, it was an omen, a warning, a story begging to be told. And that's what they did. They told stories. Because the moon didn't just mark time, it created myth. The first calendars weren't made of paper. They were made of bone. Archaeologists discovered markings carved into ancient antlers and tusks. Hash marks, carefully notched, lining up almost perfectly with lunar cycles. 28 cuts, 29, 30. Humans were counting not days but moons. Why? Because the moon gave them something critical: prediction. The tides, the seasons, the right time to plant, to hunt, to move. The moon was the first teacher of patience, and patience in survival is everything. But let me ask you this. Why do you still feel restless on a full moon? Why does it pull something out of you, even if you don't believe in magic? Why, on some nights, do you sleep worse, tossing and turning as pale light leaks through your curtains? Science is catching up with the myth. Recent studies show human sleep is consistently lighter, shorter, more fragmented on the nights of the full moon. Even today, our bodies still listen to that ancient clock in the sky. You may not believe in lunar influence, but your biology doesn't care. It remembers. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. The moon wasn't always a comfort. Imagine being a hunter-gatherer walking across an open plain. A full moon means predators can see you just as clearly as you see them. The light that saved you from stumbling also made you a target. Safety was never guaranteed, so the moon became double-edged, both guardian and betrayer, both guide and trap. It was never just beauty, it was survival. And here's where it gets fascinating. The moon didn't only shape biology, it shaped psychology. Think of the word lunatic, lunar madness. Entire cultures tied behavior, passion, violence, creativity to the moon. And maybe they weren't entirely wrong, because the moon didn't just mark time, it marked change. Cycles of light and dark gave us metaphor, and metaphor gave us art. Without the moon, would humans ever have told stories of transformation? Would we have imagined gods dying and being reborn? Would we have seen time itself as a cycle instead of a line? The moon didn't just orbit Earth, it orbited our imagination. But here's the question: what happens when the moon is gone? Astronomers tell us the moon is slowly drifting away. Each year, about 3.8 centimeters. Not much, but enough that in hundreds of millions of years, eclipses will vanish. The balance that shaped human awe, gone forever. But before that future silence, let's go back again. Picture the Neolithic age. Humans planting seeds for the first time, settling, building, waiting for harvest. But how do you mark a harvest without calendars, without smartphones, without clocks? You look at the moon, you count the cycles, you wait. The moon became the first god of agriculture. Crops didn't just grow in soil, they grew in rhythm with light above. From this, festivals were born. Rituals under moonlight, songs, chants, dances. And slowly, culture grew teeth, because ritual is more than belief. It's glue. Shared ceremonies under the moon bonded strangers into tribes. And tribes are what saved us. But here's where I want you to lean in, because this is important. You are still part of that ritual. Think about New Year's Eve. Think about birthdays. Think about how you measure your life. Candles, anniversaries, cycles. The moon was the first rhythm, the first pattern, the first repetition that gave human life structure. You think you're modern, detached from the past, but you're still counting moons. You're still whispering to the same silver disk your ancestors feared and worshipped. Now let me tell you a story. In Kenya, archaeologists uncovered a burial site over 5,000 years old. A child laid carefully to rest, surrounded by beads and ornaments. The positioning of the body suggested something intentional, a ritual timed with the moon. Even in death, the moon was a guide. It wasn't just marking life, it was marking eternity. When you look at the moon, you're not just looking at light, you're looking at memory. But here's the twist. The moon didn't just guide us, it haunted us. Every shadow on its surface became a face, every eclipse a prophecy, every shift in its cycle a warning. The moon became a canvas for our fears. And yet, in those fears, we discovered meaning. Because here's the secret. Humans are the only animal that stares at the sky and invents stories. We see shapes where none exist. We chase shadows. And the moon was the first story we ever told. So what do we do with this now? We no longer need the moon to plant crops or escape predators. Satellites and smartphones do the counting for us. And yet, something inside you still stirs when you look up. That ache of wonder, that hush of silence, that reminder. You are small, but not meaningless. The moon was our first teacher of imagination. It taught us to measure time, to bond as tribes, to fear, to hope, to tell stories. But today, the moon asks a different question. Have we forgotten how to wonder? So the next time you step outside and see the moon, don't just glance. Pause. Remember that for millions of years, your ancestors looked at that same light with awe, with fear, with reverence. That silver coin in the sky is not decoration. It is a mirror, a reminder of the stories that made you human. And maybe, just maybe, when you see it, you'll feel less alone. If the moon could guide our ancestors through fear, hunger, and endless night, what might it still guide you through today? This was Chasing Shadows. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden roots of human psychology, survival, and imagination, subscribe to Ancestor Flame. Because the past isn't dead. It's still above you, shining every night.